Kia ora. Kia ora, it's Brian LaRoche here. I'm just getting pushed off from the shore. And I'll take us out into the middle of the lagoon here. Welcome. This is the Okarito Lagoon. I'm just paddling us across. What I might invite you to do first of all is just to notice it's a beautiful day here. It's fairly still, there's a light breeze. And you might notice some of the bird life. I can hear some geese way over to our right, and some oyster catchers, the trill of the oyster catcher there, and some ducks. This lagoon's at times home to up to 76 species of bird. So what I'm going to do today is just take you through a short tour across this little stretch and then up the Okarito River, which feeds the lagoon. To give you a bit more positioning on where we are, we've got the Tasman Sea to our backs, and this is a tidal lagoon, so it swells with the tide and then empties with the tide, so it gets very low at low tide, and it also gets filled by the rivers that come down from the lakes and from the catchments. From time to time I'll just take a pause. I'm just coming up one of the arms of the Okarito River, and so we'll start to get more into noticing the different sorts of foliage each side. We've got lots of flax, of course, harakeke. And the scrub-like bush each side, kanuka and manuka. And you can see some of those trees poking up with the sort of bristly bits at the top there, the tea cocoa or cabbage tree. And as we go further and further up, the trees will change, the foliage will change, and the bird life will change. Ahead of us, you can still see the Southern Alps, Ka Tiritiri o Te Moana. And right in the middle there is Aoraki, Mount Cook. To the left is Franz Josef Glacier, and to the right is Fox. And of course they're retreating with climate change. They're losing ice more quickly than they're gathering it. So they'll go further and further back up the mountain, those glaciers. I love days like this. So sometimes I just come up here and I spend a bit of time. I even stop and just float for a while and notice the beautiful glass-like reflection of the still water. The birds around me. The fish beneath me. Under the water there are fish, there are native fish, the kokopu, various types of native kokopu, which when they're very young, of course, they're the whitebait that we talk about a lot, and especially on the west coast. A number of them are endangered, so it's really great that they have a chance in this conservation habitat to thrive. And also we've got the long-finned eel, the tuna. And now we're starting to see the trees change, so we'll start to see more of those bushy kind of trees that you can see each side, the sort of Christmas tree looking trees. Do you see that? It's a shag. See that shag? There we go. Aha. That's a pied shag. They're fairly common around this stretch. And what you'll see is, if we're lucky, we'll see them up in the trees. I can see another one over to our right, up in the tree there. It might stay there, but it might come down as we get closer. Oh, look. Yeah, they're all coming out to play. So the pied shags open up their wings like that on a nice day, like this. And there's the koremako, the bellbird. They open up their wings and dry them out because they don't have as much oil in their feathers as some water birds. Having less oil enables them to dive quickly and deep when they're hunting for fish. But then, of course, the roundabout of that is that they need to then dry their wings out. So these trees I was mentioning, they're the kahikatea, the white pine, and they were being quite extensively logged all the way up the west coast, even 30 years ago. And now this is a national park, so it's the highest level of conservation protection for our flora and fauna, and so they won't be logged. These trees that are hundreds of years old, they will be able to stay and keep the ecosystem going that's here. This ecosystem, which is pretty similar to what it might have been before humans were in this part of the world. And for a while there was a big logging industry on the west coast, and they were taking the kahikatea, the miro, the rimu, the matai, and cutting them down, and often they were just used for packaging. Like the kahikatea was called the butterbox tree because it was used to package our dairy goods and send them overseas. So it doesn't seem like a very great use of something that's really a beautiful taonga. So we're really lucky to have them up there now. And they provide this ecosystem for the birds which are coming back to this part of the world as well, with the extensive trapping we've got on around this area. So you'll see, and we might be able to see some of the birds you might be familiar with here: fantails, bellbirds, tuis, South Island robin, grey warbler. But also oh, there's a duck. Okay, that's a scope. It's a New Zealand scope. Lovely little cute dark ducks. So we're moving away from the birds of the lagoon, which back there behind us would be more wading birds and seabirds. And we get into these bush birds. Sometimes you see kakariki, the green parrot, and we even get to see the kea from time to time. They come from all the way up in the mountains and down the bush into these forests, because why not? And a rare bird which we've got here, which I really have a lot of emotion for, is our rowi, which is the rarest kiwi. Did you know that there are 5 different species of kiwi in New Zealand? And this is the rarest species. Back in the 90s there was only 160 of them left. And then with a whole lot of different sorts of conservation practices, like incubating each egg individually, putting them on predator-free islands, we've started to bring them back to a level where now they've released a number of rowi into these forests. So they're around us somewhere in the forest there. We won't see one today, but they're out there. So the community get involved in the whole predator-free thing. We've got the ZIP people, the ZIP, Zero Invasive Predators, and Predator Free New Zealand. We all get together. There's a small community here. Okurito village is really up to 40 people live there. 40 people. It's very small. But we organise every year, a few times a year, we do our Ghostbusters. So around the bush here, there are invasive plant species as well that outcompete some of the natives. So we get out there and have a weekend of cutting them back. We're already getting quite close towards where we'll have to pause. And you'll notice we're really seeing the big trees now. It gets darker and darker as you go up the river with all the trees that are really reaching their prime, really tall, beautiful specimens. I'm still here with you. I'm just enjoying the moment. At this time of the year, the sun is quite low, and you can just see that beautiful low light coming through the trees to our left. More ducks. So we'll come towards this dead tree down ahead of us here, and that's where we'll have to stop for this short trip that we've been on today. Birds are just coming out to play. Pi waka waka. See the fantail? So we disturb some of the insects around the river and they come out and they start to flit around. Playful little birds. And they're hunting those insects that we're disturbing. Well, this is it. This is our spot to stop. Thank you so much for joining me on this little trip today. It's been a pleasure bringing you up one of my favourite parts of the world. Have a great day. Goodbye.